Hi there, my name is Martin and these are my top tips for the North American Veterinary Licensing Examinations, the NAVLE. Before we get into the first top tip, please like and subscribe. I'm Martin and I make vet and animal content. Okay, first top tip is use the highlighter function. In the examination, there's an ability to highlight the text as you're reading and it stays highlighted. This is really useful because you're stressed, the text is quite chunky. As you're reading it, highlight it through, and then once you've read it, you'll be able to go back to the question and draw out the information that's key, relevant, and important without being bamboozled by, again, a large body of text. My second top tip is that the questions are chunkier, they're longer than you think they're going to be. I used Vet Prep to prepare for the exam, and the Vet Prep questions are quite short, so I thought the exam questions would mirror that. When I got into the exam, I remember the first sort of 10 questions were really sort of long, and I was like, well, maybe I've got all the long ones first. Long question, long question, long question, and I'll get the shorter ones later, and that just didn't happen. And so for my first hour block, I remember almost running out of time at the end. So my top tip would be you go in strong. Go in, prepare yourself that the questions are going to be chunkier, they're going to be longer, and you need to power through them quickly, efficiently, and speedily so that you don't run out of time. My third top tip is know your thoracocentesis locations, because I took the exam in November 2025 and I almost passed, I was so close, and then I retook it in 2026, March, and a question that came up in both of those exams and a question that came up multiple times in both of those exams was a lateral image of a dog or a cat, and it was where will you perform the thoracocentesis. So this is a really easy low-hanging fruit mark that I think you could, with relatively small revision, get. So what the layout of the question was something along the lines of you've got a scenario and then the image has a thoracocentesis, and it's where would you perform the thoracocentesis? You know, is it point A, point B, point C, point D, point E? This is just a rando image off Google. But it's sort of an example of what it kind of looks like from my memory. And basically the scenario you'll need to know, is it like a pneumothorax, is it air in the pleural space, or is it fluid in the pleural space? And then based off that, where are you likely to do the thoracocentesis? So I think that's a really easy point to get if you just revise your thoracocentesis locations and locations depending on the scenario presented to you. Signalment is king. Signalment is king. When I took the exam the first time, I didn't really focus on signalment. I focused on like diseases and treatment and clinical signs. And I think something that really transformed me from taking the exam the first time to taking the exam the second time is that I really focused on signalment. The signalment is there for a reason. And I think you get to a point where like maybe you've narrowed it down to 3 answers. Oh, I think it's A, B, or C. Oh, all of these answers could be possible. Look back at the signalment. Because very often I found that you can then take away another one. So for example, let's say you've narrowed it down and you're like, you've got a scenario and you think it's like, it's A, B, or it's C, which is neoplasia. And you're like, it could be all of these. And then you look at the signalment and it's a young 2-month-old cat. Is it likely to be neoplasia in that scenario? No. Bosh, you've managed to narrow it down even further. So I do think signalment is king. You have to remember that this is a first opinion exam. This is an entry-level graduate exam. So there's going to be breed-specific diseases. There's going to be species-specific diseases. There's going to be age-specific diseases. You know, if it looks like it's fitting the breed, it probably is, would be my hint there. My final top tip is read the last line of the question first. Everyone says this top tip, but everyone says it for a reason. It is a really solid top tip. You could spend ages reading through the text, highlighting what you think is relevant, all the clinical signs and symptoms, patting yourself on the back, being like, I'm figuring it out, it's parvo, it's parvo. And then the last line of the question is, the dog has parvo, what diagnostic tests will you do next? And you've wasted so much time, and this is a time-pressured exam. So that is my last top tip. Read the last line of the question first. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helped. If you have any top tips, please put them down in the comments below. If you've sat the NAVLE and you have any top tips, please put them down in the comments below.